the NBA season. Obviously, it's still very early. Not a whole lot of games being played, but we did get our first few games of the NBA tournament. What did you guys think? How did you feel? Obviously, about the courts. That's gonna be that's gonna be an adjustment, but first iteration of it, first few games. Obviously, we have some more games coming up on this Friday. How did you guys feel about it? And then, as a second question, I want to get into our predictions. Who we didn't get into it a little bit last week. Who we have coming out the group play and into the tournament.
Yeah. So I mean, talk about the courts briefly. I mean, they are kind of like an eyesore for us. I wonder how it is in person. Especially somewhere like the Bucks court was like
normal.
It was
court.
fine. Normal court. But then you got like the Nuggets and you got
Thunder.
Or the Thunder,
Indy.
where it's just blue, or Indy, where it's just blue, a lot of blue. It's like, how does that look in person? Like, why such of a difference? You know what I mean? It did feel different though. All the games felt a little bit different,
closer.
They all, like, most of the games were close. All the ones except for the Memphis games. Memphis is Memphis. Yeah, but like it did feel it had some juice to it. So I mean, I like it. It's still. I don't think people really the players really understand, like, not, I won't say understand, but like really feel it until it gets down to it and they start okay, like like the week of when you playing those, when you get to the actual tournament part. But I think this pool play stuff is interesting. It's a cool little wrinkle to have in November and December, where people aren't really watching too many basketball games to begin with. So if you watch one game a week, watch the in-season tournament game up until Christmas. Like, you're
right
good
when the NBA starts to take off, which is Christmas.
So it was the timing of this was, and they thought a lot about the timing of this.
Yeah.
So I think this is great, honestly.
About you, Chris?
It's gonna be good. I think it's gonna take off. Good idea to do it. Like you said, Cass, like, this is the time period where it's like it's the beginning, everybody excited for the first week of basketball, then it started to tail off a little bit, then it's like, okay, you win, you lose, whatever, then it don't get really popping to like Christmas time and then into January, which is where the NFL started to tail off, and it's like, okay, we're in the playoffs, we only got these certain amount of games. So in-season tournament is a good thing for them, keep the fans engaged. So I'm interested to see how it progresses, I should say.
Yeah, but we can get to those picks. You want to do the picks now?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's talk about them. Let's talk about
them. So let's start with,
off in the West.
The West. So we got Group A. We got Memphis, Phoenix, Lakers, Utah Jazz, and Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
So we had that. Honestly, looking at it now, Memphis was not supposed to be this bad. So
yeah, I really don't like my. I'll start. I'm really not confident in my pick. I picked the Lakers to come out. I'm not confident in it at all. A lot of it has to do with obviously. We can be serious. The only two teams that are we really think are worth something is the Lakers and Phoenix.
And Phoenix in this group.
And right now they really aren't worth shit either. So
both of them teams.
Both in dog fights. The Lakers just got smacked by Houston. Got blown out by Houston.
Phoenix is with the overtime with
just 1 by 1 point against the Bulls in a dog fight. I'm going with the Lakers. I'm not very confident in it. One of the things that kind of led me to feeling like it's gonna be the Lakers is that the end of it is like they play Portland, and I think their last two games in the tournament or the group play is Portland and then Memphis. So I think that kind of gives a little bit of edge that they get their tougher games out of the way against Phoenix and then Utah. Not confident at all, but I'm going with the Lakers there.
I'm gonna go Phoenix.
I'm going Phoenix also. But
yeah, I mean, it's not this group might be the weakest group, honestly, with how Portland and Memphis are playing. Yeah. I'm not expecting that. This shit is weak as hell. But our first little glimpse. So they play on Friday, right? Phoenix and LA
Phoenix and
Lakers.
LA.
Yeah. So honestly, whoever wins that game will probably win the group.
Yeah,
I don't see them losing. Whoever wins that game. So we'll see. But I got Phoenix. So big game Friday for both of those teams.
And now, well, we don't know about AD because obviously AD missed today's game. But we did get Bradley Beal returning this week, today specifically.
Did he miss that game so he can come back and be fresh for Friday? Because he said he was all right. Did he miss that so he can be fresh for the NCAA tournament? Like, it seems like they're kind of taking it more seriously.
Take it a little seriously.
It seems that way. Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Still gotten their but
yeah, probably. But we might hopefully see the first game fully healthy for both teams, or mostly healthy for both teams. So getting into to the B side of the West, we got the Nuggets, the Clippers. This is kind of a tougher one. Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Houston Rockets. Yeah, obviously, we got the tough news with the Nuggets that they'll be missing Jamal Murray for some time with the hamstring injury. So that kind of changes things a little bit, or maybe it doesn't.
They're still a good team. Yeah,
a pretty great team. So defending champions, who I'm sticking with them. I got the defending champions coming out, and I was really debating between them and Dallas because obviously Dallas has had a hot start to the season. I still think they need to figure some stuff out with the Kyrie, Luka, marriage, I guess, there, and getting Kyrie back into the, right now I think he's averaging right at 20 points per game. He needs to get back to right where he was with LeBron, and that 25, 26, in my opinion. So they still got some stuff to work on, but I'm rocking with the Nuggets.
I'm gonna go Dallas just because you said the Nuggets. No, I'm gonna go Dallas. The Jamal Murray, that's gonna be a big deal. That is gonna be a big deal for the Nuggets. I don't think they're gonna just fall off the face of the earth, obviously, but I think Dallas will be able to take advantage of that, and I think they'll come out of there.
That's fair. I was gonna go with the Nuggets until that injury to Jamal, which between now and the end of the month is all the pool play,
basically all the games. Yeah.
So, like I had Nuggets in my before that news today, but I'm gonna go Clippers. I think they want to win it. I think it's something early in the season where while they're healthy, they're able to get under their belt, and I think it will help their confidence too. They're having a rough little time right now trying to fit, James Harden in and all this stuff, but we'll see. Their first pool play game is on Friday against the Mavericks, so that'll be a big game.
And I mentioned in our little Twitter group, kind of tongue in cheek, like you kind of mentioned it, that it's something that might be important for them, especially with them having early health and stuff like that. But I mentioned it kind of tongue in cheek, but I'm being serious where they had till February. That team has till February to kind of decide what it's going to look like. If this team is a middling team in February, I mean, we really have to, especially because of what their futures look like in terms of them going all basically being free agents. They're going to have to start. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation, especially for Ty Lue, because of all the personalities and all the star power that they have to make something so quick. I don't know. Obviously, they probably won't make a decision that quick. But, similar to our conversation with the NFL, there has to come a point where it's time to pivot. And this iteration of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, Clippers, multiple different teams, multiple different supporting cast with them. If we're looking, like I said, if it's looking like, hey, it's not really clicking. Yeah, this could be huge for them. This is huge
year
time
5. This is year 5 for them. Like a lot of regimes don't go that long in the NBA. So
not with the duo. I mean, there's already heavy conversation about the Donovan, Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, all that, and they only played for 1 year, and they're young.
That's what I'm saying. There was conversation about Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum a couple seasons ago, last season. These questions come up,
and that conversation.
These guys are 32 and 33, going on 33 and 34. if you have any hope for the future, if you're the Clippers, you go into a new arena, which we already get, but you gotta these guys are old. You got the oldest team in the league now after this trade, getting 38-year-old PJ Tucker and 34-year-old James. You have the oldest team in the league. And you got to make something happen this year. It's not let's make it to the playoffs, and run the shit back. No, you got to make some noise. You got to get otherwise, what the hell was the point?
Yep. And then we've already seen, one injury with Mason Plumlee, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that makes it even tougher for them because, we've seen their biggest issue already was probably size. And then it's heard even more similar questions that we had about the Warriors. PJ Tucker playing center is going to be ugly. So
and he's going to play a lot at center. I already know it.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. But with that being said, though, and that puts a little bit of more stock into them getting this in-season tournament. If they get this win, it helps. It's not like it's nothing and it's not like it's everything, but it's morale booster. It's like, okay, let's put the shit together. So
especially because the first game as well, not to beat on them, but the sound bites after it did not sound like a team that was, and obviously we always are going to look into the vibes type deal with Russ and James, and that's we're going to overblow it as everybody does, as we've been doing for
of course, it's a day-to-day, yeah.
But it definitely wasn't a positive start, at least. But with that being said, moving on to the final group stage before we get into the East, and then we can give our 2 wild cards at the end of the East. West C, you got the Golden State Warriors, the Sacramento Kings, the Minnesota Timberwolves, which Chris, Ant versus Jason Tatum. I might take Ant, but I'm gonna hold that down. Thunder and Wemby and the Spurs. That's this. You mentioned it with Group A. That was kind of the weakest one. But B and C, there's a lot of good teams, and
C is fun, man. This
we
group
talked
is
about
fun.
it. Yeah, we talked about it in our Western Conference preview. How the Western Conference just has a lot of good teams. We've already seen it early with Wemby. How he just throws a wrench into everything too. So what did you guys think? This was kind of tough for me. Because once again, Wemby is just like, bro, like it's 4 games. Like he can
get
really,
hot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just 4 games to make it there. No, I'm gonna go Timberwolves. I think they look real damn good to start this season, and they're winning in spite of Cat, which is the interesting part of it. Ant is taking over. You got the defense with Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert, and that's looking solid. I think
we're the best defense in the league right now, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna go Timber. I mean, it's tough. Of course, it's tough to pick them over the Kings or even even the Warriors. But I don't like it. I don't like the Warriors this season. I really don't. I mean, they're winning games, sure, but I still have my doubts about that team. So, I'm gonna go Timberwolves. I think they definitely make it. I don't know if it'll be the winning the group or get a wild card, but I think they make it.
Excuse me.
It's a tough group though.
What say you, Chris?
The Thunder too, though. Gosh.
I was gonna go with the Kings, but with Fox being, injured or whatnot, I can't go with them. I'm gonna go with the Warriors just because they vets. I think they gonna pull it out somehow. They're gonna make it to the tournament. I should say that. I think they'll be able to make it out the group play. I don't want to pick them though, but I just think they're better impressed. I think they better impressed go show up, and they're gonna at least make it out the group play. I think.
Shout out our boy Reggie. I'm with Cass here. I'm going with the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. It was actually between them and the Kings for me. But we talked about it early on in the Western Conference preview. I talked about it a little bit with, the USA and, the Stars taking a leap. And I think this is a good time for Anthony Edwards to shine. Again, he's we saw he had a big game against the Celtics last week or a couple days ago. And I just think that it's it's made for them. They're a very early hot start, young team. Got a great defense. This is like tailor made, for them to win this one. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Can't argue with that.
Switching gears to the East. This
you want to do 2 wild cards first?
No, let's do the wild. No, because there's only one wild. I mean, the wild cards could come from the East or the West.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, switching gears to the East. This one was kind of tough, honestly, because the East is. It's not as obviously not as deep as the West coast. So there's going to be, with the Group A, we got the 76ers and the Cavs, the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Pistons. All teams really right now that, I mean, I guess the team that you probably are most confident in maybe be the 76ers. But all teams really kind of have a little bit of questions. Obviously the 76ers just traded James Harden recently. And they've had a hot start. The Cavs haven't had a great start. Hawks are hit or miss sometimes. The Pacers same way. And then the Pistons are a young team. So what you guys got?
I got the 76ers. I understand they traded James Harden, but they still have Joel Embiid. They still got good pieces around them. They actually been looking pretty good, so I'm gonna go with them. And we just lost to them today, so trash.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good game though. I'm gonna go 76ers as well. I think they have it most together at this point in the season, early in the season. Out of the rest of these teams are kind of trying to put it all together. The Hawks don't look bad. The Cavs are still they got to come along, trying to figure it out. So I think the 76ers are just they know what they are at this point in the season, more than the rest of those teams. So I'm gonna say the 76ers.
Yeah, this was tough for me. Obviously, I'm a Cavs fan. 76ers, like you mentioned, are looking good, but I actually picked the Pacers. Just the Pacers, just high paced, quick, young team. Just think that, obviously they already got their first dub against the Cavs in a pretty good game. The Cavs didn't come out too well, but it ended up, getting close towards the end. But Tyrese Halliburton still playing excellent. I just think that, his playmaking ability, just ultimately between all those teams, I think we'll probably see we're probably not going to see a team go undefeated. We probably won't see a team have one loss, or we might see one team have one loss and then everybody else be like 2-2 or something like that. So I ultimately went with the Pacers.
Okay.
Moving to the next one in East B, I feel like we probably all have the same answer here, but maybe not because of how they've started the season. We got the Milwaukee Bucks, New York Knicks, the Miami Heat in Golf Jimmy, and the Washington Wizards, and then the Charlotte Hornets. So I alluded to it. I'm going the Bucks. The rest of these teams I don't have confidence. The Knicks are probably the only other team that I would even consider, but I don't want to hitch my wagon to the New York Knicks. I definitely don't want to hitch my wagon to the Miami Heat. So I'm going with the Bucks.
I'm gonna go Bucks too. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that one.
Yep.
We'll leave it at that. And then finally, Group C, probably same situation. We got the Celtics, the Nets, the Raptors, the Bulls, and the Magic. And same thing. I already alluded to it. I went with the Celtics. This one was a little bit tougher. Kind of just because the Raptors, they're not over the past 2 years, they're not necessarily a great team, but just because they're so freaking long, just they're long, they're physical. Obviously, they have games in Toronto as well, which is, outside the country for the rest of the league. They could, just because of the matchup difficulty, be kind of make some noise there. But I'm just going with the Celtics, just top to bottom, just better team than the rest of them, in my opinion. Same. Yeah. All right.
Celtics, yeah.
And we know what you're going with, Celtics. But I will give a caveat that the team that is in the group, we do struggle against them. The Bulls, we struggle against the Bulls. We struggle against the Magic for whatever reason, at least all last year. So that's the caveat. But obviously, I'm go with the Celtics. What y'all thought this would?
Damn, maybe I should have picked the Cavs. I'm the only one that didn't pick their squad, huh?
But that was tough though. That was tough. It wasn't like it was like clear cut. Like, oh nah, y'all.
Yeah, because the Pacers are good, and you still got the Hawks. Like that's a definitely. And
we don't match up well with the Hawks. Yeah, we always. Good thing about it is we are playing the Hawks in Cleveland, which we typically get those dubs, but it's always some high scoring back and forth game. Between whether it's Garland and Trey or Garland, Trey and Murray and Mitchell now. So it was interesting, but we can look to the wild cards. Maybe I did pick them there. Wild card, obviously they're going to look at, just to go back and give the definition so the wild card, they will look at all of the second teams between all the groups, and basically it's going to be whoever has the best record. Or if they all have similar records, it gets into a different math where it's like, points against,
point differential,
stuff like that. Stuff, so, I had tough. I had Dallas as one of my wild card teams. And I did have the Cavs as my other wild card team. So I did ultimately end up picking them, sneaking in there. But, what'd you guys have?
Go ahead, Chris.
I had the Lakers as one. That's because I think they're it could be either or as far as winning that group, but I think because of that reason, the Lakers will probably get in the wild card in one of them, and the other wild card did have the Minnesota actually.
Okay.
So I had two from the West.
So my wild cards were going between Golden State and Denver, and again with Murray missing, I'm still going Denver.
Yeah. And I was actually just about to say, it's kind of tough, thinking a little deeper, the NBA probably doesn't want LeBron, Steph, and possibly KD missing or something like that. So the odds are probably going to be that the Warriors and Lakers probably.
You know how that is.
Putting the call into them refs.
So I'm gonna go Denver as one wild card team, and I'm gonna go to Hawks as the other one.
Okay.
It was kind of tough to choose a wild card. Like looking at groups B and C in the East, I was like, who could be the second best team in those?
Yeah.
I don't really trust either of them. Maybe the Heat, but maybe they get up for this shit. I don't know. Maybe not. Who the fuck knows with the Heat? So I'm just going Hawks. I think they're a safe pick. So yeah,
I get you. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna. I can't wait to see how it shakes out, because all this stuff is really just still like unknown. Like we really don't know. It's
very unknown, very new, and that's why I didn't want to go through and pick the whole pool and the tournament just yet. We could probably save that for once they actually get into the pool play.
Yeah, when it's finalized and stuff,
we can kind of get a little bit more information.
Get our brackets in.
But before we go away, or tail off for the rest of the episode, I have one more question for you guys, and it has to do with James Harden. That kind of got me thinking about it, but it's obviously been a conversation, especially over the past decade, especially since the decision with LeBron going to the Heat, and obviously the LeBron going to the Heat has been a topic of conversation this week, big topic of conversation. How do you guys feel about the NBA player movement? Like, how do you feel about guys, and obviously everything looks different. It's LeBron and KD is not the same as James Harden. It's or LeBron and KD originally going to their first destinations after they left their respective teams. It's not the same. You have the issues with Kyrie that's led him to a couple teams, and Ben Simmons and Dame, obviously he wanted to ride it out, and he put up a fit and still talking about Miami for God knows what reason. How do you guys feel about that? Bradley Beal?
Man, I'll be honest with you, especially over the past decade. Like, I honestly love it. Part of me it might be part of me getting older too. But this player movement keeps me invested in this shit. And it's really the part of the reason that I got so much into basketball. Because, like, and Chris, we grew up together. Like, we didn't really fuck basketball too much. Like, we were football guys, you know what I mean? We watched basketball here and there, but we, you know, he was always just, he was always a Celtics fan. And I was kind of just like, whatever. The decision came, and that put a lot of spotlight on the league. And that's honestly when I started, like, really paying attention to, like, what's going on, who's in the league. Of course, I always like AI and Kobe. I would never sit there and watch a whole basketball season, all players, teams. That happened, and just that freedom that they had, like, you really never know what's going to happen next in the NBA. Shit happens so quickly. So I think from that on, that was 13 years ago now. It just keeps me, like, basketball is year round. Like, it's super year round. You're always following it. Now you got all these reporters. Now you got Woj, you got Shams reporting basketball yearly, and that's because of the player movement. So it's honestly the best thing that the NBA could have had going for them, in my opinion. As far as having all these superstars, like, move around teams, change teams, team up, try this, try this over here. A lot of times it doesn't work. But that's the fun of it too, and that's the thing with, like, James Harden. This shit probably won't work with the Clippers, but it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to keep track of throughout the year because, like, why not? And what else? So I think with that, Dame and Giannis now, never thought they would team up. Now it keeps it interesting, and it gets you way more fans, invested. And that's all the NBA is about, as you can see with the in-season tournament, too. It's all about just getting these fans to watch the games because of how long the season is. Like, people aren't watching, and I get it, it's a different demographic, different, when you're watching, you talk about NHL games or MLB games. I feel like people aren't as invested in the regular season as they are with NBA, personally.
Yep.
So,
yep. About you, Chris?
LOL, the decision. The decision. I do like player movement. I guess the only thing I don't like is I don't like the back and forth between it's fucked up that the owners or the GM is doing this or the player is handicapping the franchise, this, that, and the third. That's the only thing I don't like because as a fan, you kind of get blinded by what you think should be the case. But when you really think about it, it's like, well, sometimes, these owners, you outplay your contract sometimes. They don't want to pay you, like, okay, well, I'm going to leave. Or in Dame's case, y'all can't surround me with the people I need, and I really want a championship at this point. What else is there for me to do? I gave you my all. Hey, I got to get up out of here. And it's like, well, that, like Cass said, that type of parody that piques your interest,
Yeah.
Every other time you see something like we go as far back, we go to AD trade, huge. That was crazy when that happened. It just keeps the game exciting. So I don't have a really problem with it. I was one of the people that hated the whole KD thing, but that's so far gone now. It's like, whatever, it is what it is.
I hated the KD thing, or I hated KD going to the Warriors. I didn't hate KD leaving.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. It's the fact that everybody gonna keep bringing it up. They just whooped your ass.
Yeah.
And you said, let's go team up. That's just
another thing. Another thing that I didn't like about the KD thing, especially, we always talk about Stephen A. and how he be, saying whatever, and we making that joke. We obviously don't truly know. So no disrespect, shout out Stephen A. But one of the things that and I know Cass for sure remembers from his Thunder days, but when Stephen A. had came out and said that KD was going to sign with the Warriors, probably like January, like December, February, before his free agency, Kevin Durant came out at his neck scathing.
Stephen A's a fucking idiot. That's what he
said. And it's like, bro, like, you knew the whole time. Like, it wasn't when there's smoke, there's fire. You knew the whole time you was going to the Warriors. You knew that, like, and then on top of the playoff loss. It was just not a good look. You know, I was advocating saying that he probably should go. I thought he was going to go to the Celtics or the Wizards, and I'm like, go to the Celtics, go to the Wizards. You're having all these. He had like a little. I don't remember if it was a commercial or a news article where he was like, "I'm tired of being number two." It was like the number 2 draft pick and number 2 behind Braun and all this stuff, and you know, it was like give yourself an opportunity, go head to head with Braun. That's how I felt. So, but I'm like completely in the middle with the player movement. Like it's cool. It's cool. Obviously, it's like you guys mentioned. It's very interesting. You know, obviously we all geek about it when we hear the news or like hear the rumors. Or for my sake, when Kyrie was about to get traded from the Cavs, I was like, man, fuck you got going on, Kyrie? Like, what you got going on? You know. So, but and then it's. You know, I do like that. You know, obviously you want players to have their freedom and stuff like that. You know, I'm not trying to be like the old guard. You gotta stick with your team and learn and win with them and win with the team. You know, I'm not saying all that, but I do think there's something to be said about figuring it out. Like, you know, just because now there is the option of it's not looked down upon, I guess, to move or, you know, try to force your way out. And even I really don't even like the speculation that we do like instantly. It's like Wemby's already, you know, it's Wemby's first year. He hadn't even played 20 games yet. And, you know, people are already like, oh, he's going to be a Laker, or he's going to be this and that. And then you still have like, and especially in the media, they're always like trying to be like a year or two ahead and like, oh, you know, the Mavericks didn't have that great a season. Luka's going to leave. It's like, bro, why are you trying to put that in the air? Like,
same thing for Giannis.
You know, same thing for Giannis, because clearly that, you know, Giannis was never leaving. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, people try to say, oh, you know, he knew the whole time that they were trying to trade for Dame. He knew that trade was close. He said that because he knew what was going on. Like, let's be honest. It's no coincidences in this world. Like, let's be honest. So, you know, it's stuff like that. I'm like, bro, like, it's just nasty. Like, stop doing that. Like, just stop doing that. But to get back to my point, it's like, I do think it's something to be said about, like I said, figuring it out. Stop looking for the easy way out. You know, stop looking to just jump ship immediately if it doesn't work for a year, you know, because sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you know, there are things that move around, you know, in the league. People get hurt, things happen, and all of a sudden, you know, you're in it. You know, people could have panicked when the Brooklyn Nets got together, and come to find out, you know, they couldn't put it together and they made it to the second round, but couldn't make it to the first round after that. You know, same thing, you know, so far with the Clippers. You know, everybody could have panicked then. You know, the Clippers were the Kings of LA for a second. And in a season just like that, it went and the Lakers went and won a championship and everything was all different. So it's like, you know, and that's both front office and, you know, the players themselves. It's like, you know, sometimes it's okay to take a step back and be like, is this the best decision for both me and the team? Donovan Mitchell would even be a person, obviously, once again, putting the disclaimer out. Obviously, I'm a Cavs fan, but it's like, obviously the rumor's been him going to the Knicks. Why would you leave a team that has an all-star guard that's like 24? You've got an all-star defensive player of the year candidate that's like 22. Like, why wouldn't you try to invest your time into that? In that same thing with like a Zion well, maybe not Zion because Brandon Ingram about 40, but you know, it's like when you got these young guys together, it's like don't just look to blow it up immediately.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get you on that, and I think that's part of how NBA media has shifted, you know, the culture in the NBA. And, you know, it's instant gratification. You want it now. A lot of patience. There's not a lot of patience in this league nowadays. That's why you have, you know, well, Steph is the aberration because they end up having a dynasty going on. But outside of Steph,
Giannis.
Giannis, but that's been less than a decade. You know what I mean? So it's like people, I mean, that's just It just goes to show you like the shift of this young culture and how the media pushes it, and that shit works. Adam Silver had a comment today on JJ Reddit's podcast talking about NBA Twitter and how it's a real thing.
Yeah,
this shit is a real thing. You saw that? Yeah, the NBA Twitter is a real thing. This shit, like they don't, it's not everything, and it might not be, a lot, but it's something to look at. You know what I mean? It's something like this, like it has legs.
and I mean, and it goes to the same sense of like, a lot of people, especially early on, clown like Pro Football Focus, PFF. Excuse me. But, we don't 100% know for sure, how much the front offices put stock into it. They definitely look at it. Without question.
For sure.
Definitely
100%.
It's at the end of the day, it's
no way you miss it.
It's additional information. These guys don't have all the time in the world to look at other players, no matter what they try to tell you. Like we heard it from Ron Rivera's goofy ass talking about he didn't know how good Sam Howell was. Clearly, Darvin Ham and the Lakers, they had Lonnie Walker sitting on the bench for most of the season, and he was probably their third, fourth, fifth best player on the team, playing well, and consistently playing well now too. It's stuff like that. They don't get in. They no matter what they say, they people always say, "Oh, we look at all the tape and all." No, they don't. No, they don't. Like, they don't have enough time in the world to do all of that. So, they definitely pay attention to these guys on Twitter or, these nerds that can't get into the league or whatever people try to discredit people and say. Yeah. But, they're putting in the man hours to do this. They're putting in the man hours to look and sit there and scout these your campaigns and LeBron's, like, they're doing that.
They've come up with these like legit stats and clips and everything like that shit. Like this, some of these people, like, you got your trolls out there on Twitter, of course, but you got some people that literally like they really understand the game, at least watching it, and put all this stuff together and compile it in a very easy way to watch. Dead ass just sit there and watch and
understand
and understand. It's like you got to take some of that. I know, like, don't base all your decisions off of it, but it does have legs. Like, you got to like peek over and be like, maybe there's a point there. Maybe
they got something. Something. It's something to watch, and a lot of the advanced analytics and stuff like that. It is predictive. Ultimately, a lot of it is predictive, and a lot of it has legs. I mean, it's a reason. It's a reason they do it. And one more small thing that I want to add before we wrap for the day is somebody on Twitter also said, and I'm not 100% sure if he's a former football player, but I mean, it kind of I didn't pay attention to the Twitter handle, but I watched the video. He was kind of saying, like, for those guys that do take the time, your Twitter nerds, not just quoting them, that's just what people try to refer to them as or whatever. When they do take the time, a lot of times they say, like, this is exactly what it is, without 100% knowing what's being taught, and in that building. Maybe that's the idea of what it is, like, you're supposed to, for NFL specifically, you're supposed to hit this slant but for most quarterbacks you hit the slant, but if you got Patrick Mahomes, no, you want to look to that motherfucking post because you got the arm and the talent to do so. So, like, it's different. And one of the things he said, and I thought was pretty interesting, and that's something that we can kind of take away from, being in this space now, is that, referring to it as, from my point of view, from my perspective, this is what I'm seeing, or like, this is what I'm interpreting it as. And I think that is something that would give, us personally, obviously, because we're not pro athletes or anything like that, it gives us more credibility, but it also gives, like, those draft guys, or I mean, those NBA Twitter, NFL Twitter, MLB Twitter, I'm sure every sport and WNBA Twitter all have something, gives it just a little bit more credibility, because it's like, this is what I'm seeing from my perspective. If something's wrong, if something's different, if there's other things that's been saying in that locker room or in that building, you can come correct me, but at least like, it's not, I'm telling, like, this is exactly how it's going, I'm right, like, blah blah blah. So just something interesting to think about,
for sure.
But with that being said, long-winded episode 11 of the Speak Up Sports podcast, but a great episode. Thank you guys for tuning in with us again, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Yes, sir.